The world changed on a summer morning, a single flash, brighter than 1,000 suns. It was not just a new weapon, it was a new kind of war. A war that could end all wars, or end all life. The sky itself seemed to break. The air caught fire. What man had made, man could now unmake. The power of stars brought to Earth. This power was meant to bring an end to a terrible global conflict, but it also marked a beginning of fear. A new age, the atomic age. This was not like any bomb before. It did not just explode, it consumed, it vaporized. It left shadows on walls where people once stood. The very fabric of existence felt torn. Modern warfare had reached a terrifying peak. The calculations of strategists, the work of scientists, converged in a moment of awful power. It was a power too great for any one nation to hold, too terrible to use, yet it was used twice. The decision echoed through history. It still echoes today. A warning. The year was 1945. The war in Europe had ended, Germany lay defeated. But in the Pacific, the fight raged on. Japan, a nation proud and fierce, refused to surrender. Every island taken was a bloodbath. Iwo Jima, Okinawa, thousands died. Americans, Japanese, civilians caught in the crossfire.
The closer Allied forces moved to Japan's home islands, the more desperate the resistance became. Kamikaze pilots, suicidal charges, a chilling testament to a resolve to fight to the very last. The planned invasion of Japan, codenamed Operation Downfall, promised unimaginable casualties. Estimates varied: hundreds of thousands of Allied soldiers, millions of Japanese, military and civilian. The Japanese government was mobilizing the entire population. Women and children trained with bamboo spears. The military leadership clung to the hope of a decisive battle, or a negotiated peace that preserved their honor, their emperor, their way of life. Surrender for many was unthinkable, a fate worse than death.
President Truman faced a terrible choice. He was new to the presidency. Roosevelt was gone. The weight of the world fell upon his shoulders. Deep in the New Mexico desert, a secret project neared completion. The Manhattan Project, thousands of scientists, billions of dollars, all focused on a single goal: to build an atomic bomb. Albert Einstein had warned President Roosevelt years before Germany might be developing such a weapon. America had to get there first. The race was on. The science was revolutionary, the implications terrifying. Few knew the true nature of their work. They only knew it was vital for the war effort. On July 16, 1945, the first atomic device was tested, codenamed Trinity. A steel tower stood in the Jornada del Muerto desert. Atop it, the gadget. At 5:29 a.m. it detonated. A flash of light, blinding, immense, a shockwave that rolled across the desert floor. A mushroom cloud rose miles into the atmosphere. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the scientific director, thought of Hindu scripture. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. The power was awesome. It was terrifying. It worked. The news reached President Truman at the Potsdam Conference. He was meeting with Stalin and Churchill, discussing the post-war world. The successful test gave Truman a new card to play, a terrible ace up his sleeve. The morning of August 6, 1945, was clear over Hiroshima. A beautiful summer day. People were starting their routines. Children going to school, adults heading to work. An air raid siren had sounded earlier, but it was an all-clear. Just a weather plane, many thought. The Enola Gay, an American B-29 bomber, flew high above, unseen, unheard by most. In its belly, a single bomb. Little boy. At 8:15 a.m. it was released. It fell for 43 seconds, then silence was broken. A brilliant flash, a pica, a blinding light.
Some survivors described it as 1,000 suns, others a giant magnesium flare. It was not a sound they remembered first, it was the light. Then came the heat, intense, searing, like being inside an oven. Clothing ignited, skin burned. Then the blast wave, a colossal wind. It smashed buildings. It threw bodies through the air like dolls. Trees were uprooted, windows shattered miles away.
3 days passed. Hiroshima was a ruin. Its people suffering, the world waited. Japan did not surrender. The military leadership was still defiant, or perhaps still trying to understand what had happened.
Another bomb was ready. Another B-29 boxcar took off. Its primary target was Kokura. But Kokura was obscured by clouds, smoke from earlier fire bombings. The plane diverted to its secondary target, Nagasaki.
A city built on hills. A city with a large Christian population. A port city. Nagasaki was also having a clear morning on August 9th. The bomb, Fat Man, was more powerful than the one used on Hiroshima. It was a plutonium bomb. It detonated at 11:02 a.m. over the Urakami Valley, an industrial area. The hills surrounding the valley confined the blast somewhat. They shielded parts of the city, but the destruction in Urakami was absolute.
Steel factories crumpled, houses vanished. The Mitsubishi Arms Works, where torpedoes were made, was obliterated.
Sumiteru Taniguchi was a 16-year-old postal carrier. He was riding his bicycle, about a mile from the hypocenter. The heat flash seared his back. The blast threw him from his bicycle. His skin peeled off like a ragged cloth. He lay on the ground for days, conscious, in agony.
In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the immediate aftermath was chaos. A nightmare made real. Those who survived the initial flash and blast were met with a world on fire. Black rain fell, oily, radioactive. It stuck to skin. It contaminated water. People were desperate for water. They drank from rivers filled with debris, filled with the dead. The fires raged for days, merging into firestorms, sucking the oxygen from the air, burning everything, everyone in their path. The cities became landscapes of death. Bodies lay everywhere, charred, mutilated, unrecognizable. Some were vaporized instantly, leaving only their shadows burned onto stone. Others died slowly, from burns, from injuries, from shock. The living walked like ghosts, dazed, silent, their skin hanging loose, their hair singed. Many were naked, their clothes burned off them. They moved towards the outskirts of the cities, seeking help, seeking water, seeking escape from the inferno. Medical facilities were crippled, hospitals destroyed, doctors and nurses killed or injured. The immediate horror eventually subsided. The fires burned out, the dead were collected, or what remained of them. But the suffering did not end. A new insidious enemy emerged. Radiation sickness. Survivors who seemed uninjured began to fall ill. Nausea, vomiting, hair loss, bleeding gums, purple spots on the skin, high fevers, then often death. Doctors were helpless. They did not understand this new disease. They called it Genshi Bakudan Sho, atomic bomb disease. The long-term health effects were devastating. Cancers, leukemia, birth defects in children born to survivors, keloid scars thick and raised, disfigured many. The psychological toll was immense. The survivors, the hibakusha, faced discrimination, fear of contamination, difficulty finding work, difficulty marrying. They carried the trauma of what they had seen, what they had endured. Nightmares, flashbacks, a profound sense of loss, of injustice. Their souls were wounded as much as their bodies. The environment itself was poisoned, the soil, the water. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki did more than end a war. They ushered in the nuclear age, and with it, the Cold War. Children practiced duck and cover drills in schools. Families built fallout shelters in their backyards. The threat of nuclear war was ever present. A button push away, a miscalculation, an accident could lead to global catastrophe. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 brought the world to the brink. For 13 days, humanity held its breath. Soviet missiles in Cuba, American resolve not to back down, diplomacy and perhaps luck averted disaster. But the lesson was clear. Nuclear weapons were not just tools of war, they were instruments of potential global suicide. Efforts towards arms control began. The Soviet Union, America's wartime ally, soon became its rival. The Soviets tested their own atomic bomb in 1949. The nuclear arms race had begun. Both superpowers built vast arsenals, thousands of bombs, each more powerful than the last. Hydrogen bombs, weapons capable of destroying entire nations. The world lived under a new kind of fear. The fear of mutual assured destruction. Mad. This fear shaped global politics for decades. Alliances formed, NATO, the Warsaw Pact. Proxy wars were fought in Korea, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, places where the superpowers could clash indirectly without risking a direct nuclear exchange. Today in 2025, the world still lives with nuclear weapons. Thousands of them remain, many on high alert, ready to be launched in minutes. The Cold War may be over, but new tensions have arisen. Old rivalries persist. The geopolitical landscape is complex, unstable. The risk of nuclear conflict, some argue, is higher than it has been in decades.
Regional conflicts have the potential to escalate. Misinformation and cyber attacks add new layers of danger to command and control systems. The lessons of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are more relevant than ever. The stories of the hibakusha must continue to be told. Their warnings must be heeded. We must remember the human cost. The cities turned to ash, the lives vaporized, the generations scarred by radiation, the environmental devastation. These are not abstract concepts. They are the reality of what nuclear weapons do. They are a glimpse of what a future nuclear war would mean, on a scale that could dwarf 1945.
Efforts towards nuclear disarmament continue. But progress is slow, hampered by distrust, by national security concerns, by the belief that nuclear weapons provide deterrence, yet the existence of these weapons is a constant threat. A single miscalculation, a technical malfunction, an act of madness could unleash unimaginable horror. The power that shattered Hiroshima and Nagasaki is now multiplied thousands of times over.